Hello, Let'sRun.com supporters club members and anyone who might have stumbled upon our broadcast on the internet. Welcome to a Thursday night edition of the Friday 15 featuring Jonathan Galt, myself, and my boss, Let'sRun.com co-founder Weldon Johnson. We're here. We're going to talk some Lausanne Diamond League. We're going to talk a little Paris preview. We're probably not going to talk Sha'Carri Richardson right now. That's probably for the best. But Weldon, welcome to Thursday night edition of Friday 15. I see you've got a beer, right? You're going to be hydrated for this, yeah?
I do have a beer. It's an honor, John. We're both discussing the weather. We're both in the Northeast. I have a new office in the garage. We don't quite have air conditioning yet. But hey, supporters club members, you guys can't say I don't love you. I've turned off the fan so you hear no background noise. And you got to have good audio for the podcast. And if you're we decided to make this live on YouTube last second. But if you want to hear this as a podcast, you need to go to letsrun.com/subscribe. Become a supporters club member. Des Linden, Boston Marathon champ, is a supporters club member. Since joining the supporters club, she's set the American record at 50K. John, the Leadville 100, what's the guy's name again?
Adrian McDonald. He won the Leadville 100 over the weekend. Supporters club member.
I mean, This thing is 1 year old. We're dominating track and field. Join the club. You can get a free t-shirt if you join for the year. And also, hey, supporters club members, I know it's been super hectic with the Olympics. You get a bonus podcast every week too for everyone else catching this on YouTube. But if you got any, you haven't gotten your t-shirt, you don't know how to get the podcast feed. Well, if you don't get the podcast feed, you're not hearing me right now. But any questions, email us, go on this private forum. We've got time to get our head above water, and thank you guys. So email me, weejoe@letsrun.com or podcast@letsrun.com, because we appreciate the support, and we can, with the Olympics over, we can sort of get back to being a real club again. So thank you for the support. But John, it's just like go now. We had a 2-week break after the Olympics, which I think was good for the Diamond League. Actually, I wanted to meet right after, but I was fine waiting. We had Pre on Saturday, and I guess we had a 5-day gap. People got to fly back to Europe. Today was the Lausanne meet. Very similar to matchups to Pre, a lot of them. I mean, the highlight, women's 100 meters. We got a little, kink in the results. Surprise here. But we're back at it again on Saturday in Paris with pretty much almost the same matchup. Again, it's kind of crazy. I don't want to be too critical, but a lot of track and field to talk about for sure. And then we got Brussels in another week, and then the Diamond League final in Zurich. And hey, no Sha'Carri Richardson. We're seeing the Jamaican three. The Jamaican, at the Olympics, it was Elaine Thompson Round 1, Shelly Ann Fraser Pryce 2, Tarika Jackson 3. They all raced at Pre, same order. Today, we flipped the gold and silver. Huge upset here. We got to get there for, just 1 second. And they're racing again in 2 days. I mean, they're going at it, and we're seeing unprecedented sprint times. So let's just get there right away, John. Shelly Ann Fraser Pryce, 10.60. Elaine Thompson, she came on late. I mean, this was a blowout at the beginning, and she still came on and ran 10.64 after not getting a good start. 1.7 wind. This is legal. Equals Shelly Ann Fraser Pryce PB. Like, what do you think of this race?
I thought Shelly Ann Fraser Pryce got one of the greatest starts I've ever seen in 100 meters. I mean, she was just gone almost immediately. And then the only thing I was thinking was halfway down, I'm like, well, Elaine Thompson Round, we know she comes on strong. So is she going to get her? And when you see how far ahead of the rest of the field both of them were, I was like, okay, is the wind going to be legal? Because the broadcasters have been saying all night, the wind, that was what led to Carsten Warholm's slow 400. We saw it was helping in the jumps. It helped produce some fast times in the men's 200. But yes, the wind was legal, plus 1.7. And Fraser Pryce runs 10.60, third fastest time in history. That's a personal best, 0.03 of a second off of her personal best. Elaine Thompson Round runs 10.64, which is the fastest non-winning time in history. Before that, if you would run 10.72 or faster, you won the race. So this had never happened before, to have two women sub 10.7 in the same race. And it just made me appreciate we are seeing, I would say, the two greatest 100-meter sprinters of all time, Shelly Ann Fraser Pryce and Elaine Thompson Round, both having their best season at the same time. I mean, how often does this happen in any sport? This would be like Peyton Manning and Tom Brady both having their best season in the same year. It's just insane. And the thing that I looked at in the results, I'm like, why are they both running so fast? Thompson Round is 29. Shelly Ann Fraser Pryce is 34. And there are a few theories that are floating around there. I'm sure the shoes help. Some of these tracks are fast, but they're running these times at all different kind of tracks. Like we know Eugene is usually fast. We know the Tokyo track's pretty fast, but Lausanne, Shelly Ann Fraser Pryce ran a time in Kingston in the early morning. I think there's more to it than that. And my theory is these two are actually racing each other. Before this year, they were training partners. Shelly Ann Fraser Pryce left Stephen Francis last year, and they had raced 5 times in 100-meter finals prior to 2021. This year alone, they've raced 5 times, and those 5 races have produced 4 of the 8 fastest times in history. So I think it's 2 all-time talents racing each other and pushing each other to heights that we haven't seen since the days of Flojo.
Wait, that's crazy. They had raced 5 times ever previously?
In the 100, yeah.
They're racing 3 times this week. 3 times in a week.
Yeah.
I mean, this is what our sport needs. I mean, maybe at some point you get bored of it. You think it's the same results because track and field, I don't know. One of the downsides of our sport is there are not a lot of upsets. The favorite wins most of the time. But today I was pretty shocked by Shelly Ann Fraser Pryce coming back to win because she got beat at Pre by 0.14, something like that. No, 0.17. I don't know, but that's kind of a stomping. She got beat at the Olympics pretty good. I mean, she's running fast, but Elaine Thompson just took it to a whole nother level. I mean, the time at Pre, as we said, essentially should be the world record. If you look at the times for the other people in that race, where Flojo set the world record, she runs 10:49 in the quarterfinals at USA's. I mean, she's not even trying. We should just publish this article because if this was run now, it would be dissected left and right. But just to show what the other people ran in that race, what their best times were, all of that, it was off the charts.
Yeah, people would go crazy for that actually right now because women's 100 sprinting has never been harder. A breakdown of just why that record really shouldn't count, I think would be interesting. And it's funny, I tweeted out, so of the top 7 times in history, they've all come either from Flojo in 1988 or from this year. Elaine Thompson Round has 3 of them, and has 2 of them, and Shelly Ann Fraser Pryce has 2 of them. And there are a bunch of Jamaicans on my timeline basically saying, okay, so all of the fastest times in history are run in 2021, right? They all just think the Flojo times shouldn't count. They're just ignoring that. They're like 1988, yeah, throw those times out. They don't mean anything because they're saying not only was the wind gauge faulty in Indianapolis in 1988, but also Flojo came out of nowhere what's made a humongous leap at age 28, ran times no one had ever seen or come close to until this year, and then promptly retired the next year. And people just, I would say that's a suspicious progression, about as suspicious as it gets. And so there are a lot of people who think, yeah, these times that are being run this year, these are really the fastest times we've ever seen.
I mean, John, that would be a great retrospective piece. Maybe that's what you need to do. We got so much fall world marathon majors coming up. So it'd be December, January. But look at that Flojo record and sort of, dissect what she did because I didn't follow track and field then. I was alive. You weren't even alive in 1988, were you?
Nope.
And so if I don't know what happened, unless you're under the age of 55 or something, you're going to have no clue what happened. So that would be a great thing to look at, sort of what'd she do before that year? What'd she do after? I guess nothing. Sounds like she retired. And kind of also to put this thing in perspective. So, okay, if I want to be a Debbie Downer, then I start saying wait, everybody's running their best season this year. Maybe the track, maybe it's the track, and maybe it's the shoes.
Well, I think you're being naive not to consider those possibilities. I think the shoes probably do help. But I also think these are the 2 greatest talents we've ever seen. They're pushing each other. I think there's a confluence of factors.
Yeah, and I think that is the thing, because I'm like, oh, I became a little skeptical once I read your analysis in Lausanne. I'm like, wait, it's got to be the shoes, it's got to be the track, and then I'm like, that's too simplistic. A combination of things. We love in today's world, or maybe just in general, just to like point to one thing. Oh, it's the shoes, it's the tracks, it's the rivalry, and it's probably a combination of these things. But it is great that they're racing each other, and I think it shows that competition brings out the best of each other. And they're going to just, hey, if you missed today's race, you got no excuse on Saturday. Actually, we should probably tell people what time this meet is. I need to go look that up, or if you know offhand.
I know what time it is, Weldon, because it's going directly up against Brighton against Everton, 10 a.m. Eastern on Saturday. I can't believe this. Finally, I'm not traveling on the weekend, and I got it going up against my boys who are trying to go top of the Premier League. So I guess I'll have to watch that on delay or something with no Brighton spoilers. But yeah, they're running in Paris, and Fraser Pryce, after today, she's basically like, I'm not done yet. I think I can run 10.5. I don't think I've run my best race yet. And yes, the weather, the wind helped today, but it was only in the 60s. Tim Hutchings and Steve Cram were actually complaining a lot on the broadcast, kind of how chilly it was for them. So if it's a little warmer in Paris on Saturday, who knows? I mean, I keep thinking, like, these women, aren't they going to get tired? They've been flying around the world. I mean, they raced in Asia at the Olympics, then they fly to the west coast of America for Pre. Now they're in Switzerland, and they just don't get any slow. Like, Shelly Ann Fraser Pryce is just getting faster. So who's to say they can't go even faster in Paris? You know. So I'm excited for that. But shall we move on? There were some other events in Lausanne this afternoon worth discussion. I do think the women's 100, though, that's the glamour event right now, especially since none of the star 400 hurdlers seem to be running that at the moment.
Yeah, we should go on to something else. We call it the Friday 15. It's a minimum of 15 minutes, but it just shows if we talk about the women's 100 for 12 minutes,
yeah,
we may never, ever hit a Friday 15. We should commit to one in advance and just say we're cutting off at 15 minutes. Come December, maybe we'll do that.
Yeah, December when there's nothing to talk about. Yeah, we'll get there.
And I've reduced the audio. People are complaining about echo on your end. That's because I've got my mic right in front of my face. New setup out here, and I had your volume really loud, so I apologize if anybody was hearing that. Yeah, let's go, John, to a race that, well, it wasn't on live on the official TV window. And this just shows, if you're a true track and field fan, it's kind of sad, but you need a VPN these days. I mean, I spent probably off and on a good part of an hour today seeing, like, is there any way for me to watch Karsten Warholm run the flat 400 meters? This is the guy who ran, I think I know the time in my head, 45.94 at the Olympics.
Very good.
Okay, good. Shocked us all when we see a 45 after a guy runs 400 meters over hurdles at the Olympics, running the open 400. And people were expecting some big things. Now, you pointed out in your article previewing this race that, well, I don't know, did you come up with like a median or mean time of kind of like the difference between the hurdles and that? For most people, the PB of the all-time 400-meter hurdlers, the hurdle time versus the 400, it's not as much of a difference as you think. It's under 2 seconds.
Yeah, it was a little, I think it was about a second and a half or not even that, which watching Warholm in Tokyo, I was like, this guy has to be in 43-second shape right now, right? I just refuse to believe that it wasn't worth like, a second and I guess it would be almost 2 seconds, right? To be under 44 seconds. But Ry Benjamin is a 44.3 guy. So I would have thought, and Ry Benjamin was in his best shape ever, and he ran 46.17. I would have thought it would have been worth, sub 44 for Warholm. It's 1.67 seconds is the average of the men's top 10 all time in the 400 hurdles, their hurdles PB minus their flat 400 PB. So I don't know. This race didn't really change my mind on any of that though. Like, I think Warholm, I don't know, this is sort of ex post facto logic. Like, oh, he ran badly, so he's tired. But he ran 45.51. He didn't really get his big rocket start that he usually gets. He was only third coming off the turn. Then he got ran down by Will London on the outside, who actually won this race in 45.17. But none of the times were really that fast. This wasn't an actual Diamond League event. That's not why it wasn't in the TV window. So you didn't have this sort of superstars of the 400 in it. But even the guys in there, a lot of them have run 44 and McQualla even 43. No one broke 45 in this race, and that's I think because of the wind. It wasn't super warm, so I kind of throw out the results of this a little bit. But I'm not as totally convinced now that after running the numbers that Warholm could have been in sub 44 shape. No, I don't know. What do you think? You think if he runs, just remove the barriers in that Tokyo final, do you think he breaks 44 seconds? Because I think he does.
I think he has to. But it also just shows how amazingly efficient these guys are over hurdles. I kind of joked to myself today, like they should have put a hurdle in front of him. Just like this is the first hurdle, kind of get him pumped up, get him going. Because one thing I disagreed in the broadcast, like, oh, he got out too fast. I'm like, no, he didn't. He got out too slow. Like Will London pushed the stagger away from him. So it was just sort of surprising. And I don't even think if you didn't see it, I don't even think we said the official time, 45:51 flat. So 0.43 off what he ran at the Olympics over hurdles. Pretty crazy. But there's going to be an Olympic fatigue for a lot of people. I mean, we didn't see it for Elaine Thompson at Pre. And you didn't see it tonight either, even though she got beat. I mean, because she came on so strong at the end. But I wish I spoke Norwegian because I was on my VPN. And it's sort of fascinating, John, to see these other countries, how they do their broadcast. This is Norwegian TV. Like you almost never see interviews in the US. They interviewed Warholm right after the race. They were doing split screens. I'm like, wow, this is a country of under 10 million people. And this is like the superstar athlete or one of the two superstar athletes in terms of track and field in the country. But it's done differently. Disappointing result for sure.
Yeah, and they send their reporters out to these meets. Like a lot of these diamond leagues in Europe, the BBC. Well, actually, I shouldn't say that. I don't watch meets on the BBC, but Norway, yeah, they take Warholm and Ingebrigtsen seriously. I'm sure they send out reporters to some of these other meets across Europe. Whereas the US, NBC only has reporters at the Pre-Classic. They just take the world feed and commentate remotely for all the other broadcasts. And it would be kind of cool, from Monaco, they send over Lewis Johnson. He grabs the Americans right after the big races. That'd be kind of fun to see, but they don't do that. And actually, I don't like how they show these races on delay. Like I watch the Peacock feed instead of the NBC Sports feed because if you're watching on network television, you're never seeing anything live. You just see delayed races. Like I turned on some race, they were showing Warholm's race instead, which kudos to them. They actually did show Warholm's race in the broadcast, even though they couldn't help that one that it was late. But a lot of these other ones, they'll just be behind the Peacock feed. And it's really annoying. So I just watched the Peacock feed. But yeah, I don't know. It was a bit disappointing. But credit for Warholm for actually running this race, running the flat 400 and giving it a shot. That's what people wanted to see. And the sport needs to figure out a way to put this race in the broadcast window. It's a joke that we had to go hunting for this Norwegian VPN.
Yeah, it's crazy because I don't know. Maybe there's a little bureaucratic red tape. It's not a Diamond League event. Maybe it can't be in the window. I don't know what it is, but it should be. If the NFL owned track and field and it was run as a for-profit enterprise, somehow this meet would have been on TV. I guarantee it. Live. That's how major sports are done. But there's a comment here up on YouTube from All in the Game, and it says the cadence of the 400-meter flat is completely different to the 400 hurdles, and it showed for Warholm. I never thought about that till this race, but he just looked off. Like it didn't. There is a certain cadence when he's going over the hurdles, and I don't know. I felt like he was like searching for something in this race. He never looked good. And he got beat by Will London and a bunch of other guys actually. So
yeah, I'm not an expert on cadence, but just from my untrained eye, Warholm really he kind of bounced towards the hurdles, right? He really gets these long bouncy strides. So just really propelling himself. Whereas like Rai Benjamin, I guess I can see why Rai Benjamin's a better flat runner because he kind of he looks so in control. It doesn't look like he's really forcing it as much as Warholm does. Obviously, what Warholm does for the 400 hurdles, it works perfectly. But yeah, it's a little weird. It's like sometimes I would see sprinters. We had one guy in the 100 in my college team at Dartmouth who he ran the 4x4 once for us at HEPS. And he just looked totally out of place. I was just like, that's a 100-meter runner running the 400. You could tell he wasn't a 400 guy. And Warholm, yeah, his stride is I don't know. I don't want to say it's not suited for the flat 400. He's run 45.05 indoors. That's pretty damn fast. But it seems to me, I guess, looking that race and then looking at one, I've seen Benjamin run the 400 and the 200 flat. Benjamin just seemed a little bit more, maybe his strides made for the flat races more than Warholm's is. But that's just sort of, rambling.
Yeah. Hey, John, we're becoming a sprint podcast because I think on the regular podcast, which drops on Wednesday, we discussed Sha'Carri Richardson, the women's 100-meter, and Sydney McLaughlin for about the first 30 minutes. Now we're 20 minutes into the Friday 15. We still haven't mentioned a distance race. So let's turn to the distances. We can come back to maybe some of the sprints. But the distance races today were the 800 men, which you also had in pre. It was pretty much a rematch of everybody there. The 1,500-meter women, which was a total drop in class from pre because Faith Kipyegon didn't run. And instead of a 1,500, instead of the Bowerman Mile, you had a 3K. And Norway's Jakob Ingebrigtsen delivered here. I think that was the most consequential race, just in terms of, I guess you had Olympic champions in the men's 800, but that event is so up in the air right now. But this one, you had Jakob, the 1,500-meter, champ in it. You had Selman Barrega, the 10,000-meter champ. And this one was kind of no contest, but mainly because I think of the rabbits. Like, the rabbits went out. So if you didn't see the race, Jakob Ingebrigtsen wins in 7:33. Barihu Aragawe. This guy, John, what's his official age? This kid looks young. So Ingebrigtsen and Stuart McSwain of Australia are the only guys who go with the rabbits. They're cooking off 60, 60, 60, 60, pretty much. They open up a gap. The gap's probably, 25 meters at some point. And you're like, well, nobody's going to catch him. These other guys are too far back. And once the final rabbit drops off, Ingebrigtsen, McSwain's still leading. Well, he's the unofficial rabbit. I was joking. Ingebrigtsen. He starts running 62. And you drop 2 seconds a lap. Doesn't sound much. It is a lot. They close the gap. Aragawe catches back up. It was a very game effort. And he goes by him on the back stretch. And I'm like, really? And McSwain had nothing, which didn't surprise me. He's just not at the class of Ingebrigtsen. And I'm like, wait, what's wrong with Ingebrigtsen? And there was a little bit of doubt even onto the home stretch. And then Ingebrigtsen kind of did what we all expected. Kicked it away, got the win. 7:33.06, 0.33 ahead of Aragawe. And McSwain, well-deserved third, because I was kind of disappointed. I don't know about you, John, with these other guys. Like, there's a rabbit. They have wavelength pace light technology. The Olympic champion in the 1,500 goes with the pace. He's not going to die 9 out of 10 times. What are you expecting? You trying to win the race, or are you there for sightseeing?
I don't know. I'd say, first of all, you doubted Jakob. I didn't. I mean, he looked in control the whole time. He looked like he was just doing the bare minimum to win. He seemed very tired. When he was on the ground after the race, he was just puffing his cheeks. He was like, man, like, he looked exhausted, but he also just, I was like, yeah, he's just going to go right by this guy in lane 2 on the home straight. And that's what he did. I mean, part of me is a little, I'm like, okay, I'm sure a lot of these guys can run low 7:30s, but a bunch of them just ran the 2 mile at pre on Saturday. And now they're flying 5,500 miles over to Lausanne and turning it around real quick. I mean, I don't totally blame him for being tired. I think it's more a sign of Jakob's class that he can turn it around and just win. He only won by 33 hundredths, but I thought he was in control the whole way. And he's just so good. He doesn't even need to be like going all out to win these things. And actually, there's a comment here from Tariq Fullerton. Jakob's definitely going to extend his undefeated streak for a long time to come, pending he remains healthy. And I kind of thought that. I was like watching this race. It was pointed out, one of my followers on Twitter from Norway pointed out, he's won 4 different Diamond League races at 4 different distances this year: the mile, 1,500, 3K, and 5K. And I'm just like, man, when is this guy, like, who's beating this guy moving forward? He hasn't shown any signs of like getting slow or anything. I think he needs to end his season pretty soon. Like, maybe he'll go through the Diamond League final, but I think all this racing will catch up to him. But I'm like, who is going to beat him? If he's surpassed Chariot, which I think is probably, it seems like that's the case. I guess Chariot, if Chariot is healthy, that's the guy who beats him next year, I think. Otherwise, I don't see it.
Yeah, but winning every single time is very hard to do. So, but he's so young. I just see him losing. I don't know,
That's
but
true.
I'm starting to wonder. Like the kid has what it takes physically, obviously, but mentally. He doesn't have to be doing these races, but I don't know. Some people maybe don't like this, but since he's 16, what do? You fly to Europe, you run diamond leagues. They've always raced a lot. And I think it's what the sport needs. But it shows like this kid, I mean, someone should go back and look how many diamond league races did he run at the age of 18? Whereas like the Americans, somebody's commenting here like that Grant Fisher didn't have a good run. Rose Runner only ran 7:42. John, correct me if I'm wrong. This was the first diamond league meet for Grant Fisher ever outside of the United States. Or excuse me, this might have been the first.
Yes, that's correct.
This was the first meet for Grant Fisher outside the United States that was not a world championship.
Or Olympics. Yes, that's also correct.
So, I don't know. I mean, there's different ways to skin a cat, but, I don't know. I guess let's kind of look at some of these other guys because this is a distance website. I mean, Barega back in 5th. He just never gave it a run. Mukhtar Edris, a guy who many people thought maybe might have been appointed to the Ethiopian team, wasn't. You think he might have something to prove here, didn't do anything. And then I was shocked, actually, when I looked at these results afterwards. Mohamed, I didn't even know he's in the race. I mean, did you?
Yeah, he wasn't in the race. He was hanging back, and I thought, oh, Grant Fisher's just going to beat Mohamed. I guess Mohamed must have outkicked him in the last lap. Yeah, I mean, again, these guys, they had the Olympics, they've been traveling a lot. Like, I tend to give these guys some sympathy for the ones that I think it's more impressive, the guys who have been able to run well despite the travel and racing, here and in Pre and, going back a little farther than Tokyo, than thinking, oh man, it was kind of lame that these guys didn't run that fast. That's what happened when you have a Diamond League 2 mile and a Diamond League 3K within the span of 6 days.
Yeah, Ahmed. I'm trying to even see, like, did he run Pre? I can't even remember.
He ran the Bowerman mile. He ran 3:53 there.
Oh yeah, I do remember that now because I'm like, I was trying to think where he finished in the 2 mile and I just couldn't place it. But that was the thing. Whether I thought maybe Matthew Sendrins was just trying to beat him in the Bowerman mile.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to the
800. Kajelcha? I think Kajelcha's he's not that fit. Maybe he's battling an injury to get the Olympics, but he didn't look that good at the Olympics. So he might be calling it a season. I wouldn't be shocked if that was the case.
Yeah, not really sure. All right, 800 meters. This was basically a Tokyo rerun. It had 8 of the 9 finalists. Only Nigel Amos was missing. And we had the top 2 from Tokyo go 2-3 in that order. Emmanuel Korir and Ferguson Rotich. But for the second time in 6 days, Marco Arop of Canada is your winner. And he used a very different strategy. In Eugene, he went from behind and used a big last lap to move from, basically last to first. Here, he goes out his more traditional style. It wasn't a super fast first lap. Again, these guys, a bunch of them just raced in Eugene, and they didn't seem to want to go with the Rabbits. And it was even though the pacer only came through in 51:07. That's not crazy fast for Diamond League 800. Arop kind of made his move on the home straight. He got a gap, and then he had a big gap by the back straight. Korir and Rotich, they kind of timed it a little better than in Eugene. I think in that one, they might have been able to run him down if they timed it better, or at least we thought they might have been able to do that. And maybe they weren't able to do that in Eugene because Korir timed it pretty well, I thought, this time, and he still couldn't catch Marco Arop down the home straight. Second straight win for the Canadian. And I kind of thought to myself, I'm like, why? So Arop just won back-to-back Diamond Leagues against all the guys who were in the Tokyo final. How did he not even make the final? I was looking at his results this year. He's had a really good year. He's run 144 or faster in all of his non-championship races. He ran 143 low to get third at Monaco. That's his personal best. and he's just won these 2 Diamond Leagues. And I think the answer is like, I don't know, it was very hard to make the final. He ran 144.9 and got 7th in his semi. Like, that's a very deep semi against a lot of good guys. If you're just a little off your game or you don't have the right positioning there, that's going to cost you. And that's why he didn't make the final. But he's a really, really good runner.
Yeah. I mean, he was only 7th in that semi you pointed out in the recap, which is pretty interesting. And the other thing I thought was, I mean, that's one of his worst races for the year. Actually, he's been running so well. And I'm like, well, maybe he's one of those guys who just isn't quite as good at the rounds. But I'm not sure that's the case. Like, he's an NCAA champ. So that would need a little more investigative work. But I was sort of searching for answers because he's been so good this year. But we all know, I mean, if he gets 7th, that's not that great. But the 800 making the final, it's the hardest event in track and field to make, because usually at the Worlds and Olympics, there's 3 heats of 8, top 2 in each heat, and the top 2 times make it. So there's no room for error, and especially the 8, because there's tactics involved. You can get in a bad spot that can affect you. There's a lot more variables, and I think it makes it the most interesting distance event usually at the championships.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why I love it, because the margin for error is thin, but there's still tactics. And he was not an NCAA champ, actually, in College Weldon. He was 2nd in 2018, but he got beaten by Isaiah Harris. Corrected.
And Tariq Fullerton, our comment earlier. Tariq, did you get your on shoes? You know, we reward good posters, commenters from time to time with some Let'sRun.com gear, some On running gear as well. On sponsored the Road to the Trials on Let's Run. Tariq, I just want to make sure you got your On shoes. And Rose Runner says here, the field is missing Brazier Amos to make this 143 or faster race. And I kind of agree with that. We don't have the front runners right now, and we've seen more tactical races. But
well,
I guess I
don't know about that. I mean, Arop's the reason why Monaco was so fast, because he took the lead, and he was the guy who was pushing the pace in Monaco, and he got beaten at the end, but he led for about 700 meters of that race in Monaco. So Arop is usually a front runner. He just didn't go quite as hard this time. But I guess, yeah, Brazier and Amos, obviously, those are 2 guys capable of running 142. Even 141 for Amos if they're healthy. All right, women's 15. We really don't have to spend much time on this. Ferwani Gebrezibeh. I'm gonna mess up the pronunciation of that. She gets the win. She was 4th at the Olympics. Lyndon Hall made a big bold move for the lead. Had a 20 meter lead at one point, but Gebrezibeh closed it down, won the race. We don't really need to speak. Josette Norris, I will say, another impressive showing for her. 3rd in her 2nd straight Diamond League. Again, didn't have the 3 medalists from Tokyo, but I mean, 403, that's some good running in her first. I think this is her first European race. I think she should move down to the 1500 for next year. Do you think, Weldon?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I think she improved so much this year. Maybe she's a very good 5,000 meter runner as well. But like, unless you're sub 1430, what's the point? So I don't have a problem with her running the 5K. I mean, she's got good speed, but she's sub 4, and that's just more competitive. But with her skill set and improvement this year, I have no problem with her continuing to run both and see sort of which works out better for her long term. But I fully expected Sifan Hassan to go sub 14 in the 5K this year, and not fully expected, but I just kind of thought we'd see it at Pre, and it didn't happen. But like, that just shows where that event has moved right now. And I guess you could say, oh, Faith Kipyegon, look how good she is. But I don't know. You're running 358s. I mean, she got 3rd in the Diamond League. She's not getting 3rd in a 5K Diamond League, even if she continues to improve next year, I don't think. No. So for sure. Internationally, I think it makes a lot more sense to run 5Ks.
All right.
But yeah, I mean, this race, not a lot more to say about this one. But I don't know. I kind of thought, because Lyndon Hall was kind of fading, I'm like, wow, like Josette might, maybe she can get close to her. I almost expected more from her. She's run fast, she's run sub 4, so 403. It's not great, but strong performance,
Okay.
third, first Diamond League, all those crowds. I mean, she had to be pumped. I was thinking about that. Like the crowd was pretty good tonight in Lausanne. They're making noise. It's good to see just crowds back in track meets in Europe. And I saw her and I'm like, wow, like I realized she wasn't going to catch them sort of like with 200 to go. But for a second, I thought like, well, that's just got to be really cool for her. You're like, she was nothing in college. Now she's in the Diamond League. And I'm kind of disappointed she's not going to do better than third. So great run for her.
I'd like the attendance numbers for Lausanne because the stadium it's very similar to Haywood Field, I think, in terms of size. I think it's slightly larger. I just Googled it. It's about 15,000. But I don't know. It looked fuller than Prefontaine Classic to me.
Oh, for sure. I've been to the Lausanne meet, John, actually. We also need, the Let's Run shirt needs to go to all these meets. If you have a shirt and you go to these meets, we should institute a new rule. First person of these meets gets a free second shirt or something. We'll refund your money. Because the Let's Run shirt went to Monaco. If you were in Lausanne with the Let's Run shirt or the GOAT shirt, anything sold by letsrun.com, tweet us, email me at podcast@letsrun.com. You will get something free. Actually, I mean, hell, I can give out On shoes. You'll get a free pair of On shoes if you were at the meet today. How about that?
Awesome. Yeah, we need to get some boots on the ground for Diamond League final in Zurich.
Oh,
okay.
John, are you available? I don't know. I hadn't thought about that, but I don't know with the Olympics. I didn't know if people could travel, but I started thinking about that the other day.
Well, if you want to send me to Zurich to cover the Diamond League final, I think I can make that happen. I covered Zurich in 2017. It was a great meet. I'd be happy to go, even with the Mickey Mouse, street 5K that they're going to be running there.
Yeah, it's like wedding season, John. I thought you said you weren't. I thought you had a wedding this weekend, but now you just said you're not traveling. Are you
no, I have a wedding.
Like, did I?
No, I have a wedding tomorrow, and I'm just planning. It's in Maine. I'm trying to make it a day trip, but then this weekend I'll be around, and then the only problem with Zurich is that the NFL season opener is, I think it's the same night, but the Patriots aren't playing till Sunday that weekend, so I'll be able to make it happen. All right. Speaking of other Diamond Leagues,
Thursday?
It's a 2-day meet. I think it's on Wednesday and Thursday, the 8th and 9th of September.
Oh, I just figured it was Friday, Saturday, but I guess this shows where track stands in the world. Now I see why they do it on the midweek. They don't want to go up against soccer, John.
No way. Go up against European soccer, you'll get murdered.
Yeah.
So, not literally, but like in the ratings. Okay, let's talk about Paris real quick. It's on Saturday. I mean, we talked about this earlier, Weldon. It's kind of a joke. So there are 9 Diamond League track events in Paris. 6 of them were the same exact event was run today in Lausanne. So you're just getting mostly the same fields. And of those 6, 3, the men's 200, women's 100, and men's 800 were at all 3 meets. They were at Pre, Lausanne, and Paris. So that's kind of silly. That's what some of the, even when you're having 2 Diamond Leagues in 3 days, you'd think they'd be able to spread the events out a little bit more. But I will say, I'm glad that we get to see the Jamaican 100 meter women run again. That's always going to be interesting. So can they continue that streak of going 1, 2, 3? We saw it in Pre, we saw it in Lausanne, we saw it in the Olympics. So that's going to be awesome. And then the other ones, the 800's the men's 800's just the same event, basically, again, all the same guys. But there are some other storylines. Francine Niyonsaba in the 3K. It's not a very deep field apart from her. We've got a couple of Kenyans, Beatrice Chebet and Margaret Kipkemboi, who ran sub 830 earlier this year. I kind of expect Niyonsaba to dominate those two, though, after what she did at Pre. What do you think?
Yeah, she's going to dominate. It's funny because I guess she probably doesn't really have like a 3K PR. And I was just, when I look at the field, I go just real quickly, look at the PR field and don't see something good for her. So, she should win this. Wait, what, John? You can't complain too much. What's the third event? The 100, the men's 8, and what's the third event that's a repeat at all 3 meets?
The men's 200.
200 was pretty good. We didn't mention it, Lausanne. They're running fast.
Yeah.
But the women's 100, it's so rare. They're just going 3 for 3 racing each other. That's great. So we can complain, but the quality that they're delivering, just go for it. So, I think it is weird. You don't want to have the same meet all the time, but if you can get these matchups all the time, you just go for it. So
I think that's a fair
maybe
point.
Sharika Jackson doesn't command much of an appearance fee, but or maybe, John, there wasn't a lot of racing last year with COVID. So maybe they're just like, hey, yeah, no money is better than like A+ money. So let's go race.
Yeah,
they may have different coaches now.
Yeah, you can get Diamond League prize money, but I can't look. I'm not going to get mad at Paris for saying, "Oh man, you have all the same amazing fields in these events that we had in Lausanne." They're trying to make the best meet possible. They got an amazing 100-meter field. Dina Asher-Smith has been added to that 100. And then the 200, you've got Curly and Bednarik going at it again in Paris. They ran really fast today, windy, so it would be nice if they get a fair win, what they can run. And again, the men's 800 is basically an Olympic final rematch. So, yeah, I think we just need to say as a sport, maybe we shouldn't be having these meets immediately. It can get old, but in terms of the individual meets, yes, kudos to them for assembling some good fields. Allison Felix is in the 400. We've got a men's steeple that we haven't had since before Tokyo. Sufjan El Bakkali, the Olympic champ's in there. Benjamin Keegan, the Olympic bronze medal, is in there. And then Conseslus Kipruto's in there, the 2016 Olympic champion, the reigning world champion. Most of the time, the last 2 years when he's showed up to a race, he's just dropped out or he's scratched before the meet. This one, but every time he shows up, I'm like, well, why would he show up if he wasn't in shape? So I always have that hope that Kipruto, we've seen him pull these performances out of his ass at the World Championships or in the Diamond League final in 2018. He's capable of greatness. So maybe he shows up and does something special, or maybe he just drops out again. I think it's probably more likely the latter, but I'm at least interested to see what he does in that steeple.
Yeah, you'd think he wouldn't show up and drop out. Prior to the Olympics, I think maybe these guys, they need to get fit. So I think a lot of the Kenyans try to race themselves into shape, especially some of the stars right in the steeple. So maybe he's like, I got to try to get ready for the trials or whatever. So he just showed up. There's no way he's getting paid, right, unless he performs well. So I think that's one thing. And he's only 26. So there's still hope for this guy. And for those who don't know, like they're like, oh, he's got some problems back home. He's under child defilement charges. I still think that has not been settled to my knowledge, right? That's statutory rape for those who don't know. Very serious charges, but he's allowed to race. But that's got to weigh on your mind, right? He could be locked up. I don't know what the statutory provisions are, but he just hasn't been the same runner since these charges were levied against him, right?
Yeah, that's right. But he's also, he's been very injury prone. Even 2019 and 2017, he won the world title those years, but he was not healthy. He showed up to Worlds and it wasn't, it was kind of a surprise even that he made the final in 2019. And then he runs 8:01 world leader to win, but he's been pretty injured for the last few years. And obviously, these charges, that's a big distraction for him. It's also a serious case. You feel for the woman involved, and you just want the facts to come out and justice to be done. But yeah, so far I haven't heard any outcome on that.
Yeah, according to World Athletics, I didn't realize it. I thought he'd finished a couple races. This is it? It's saying 2020 he dropped out of a 1500, and this year he dropped out of a steeple. That's it. One race each year. I could have sworn there was another steeple in there, but I guess not.
Him and Jaga, the event's different, man. No steeples from Jaga since 2018. Kipruto not racing. It's a different event.
Yeah, but he's one of the all-time greats in this event. But I say that, John, you know what his PR is?
8.12, I think.
Oh my God, you nailed it to the 100th. Yeah, I just would have known in my head. He hasn't broken 8, but that's pretty crazy. This is arguably, I would say, he's the second best steepler ever championship.
I think that's fair. I mean, championships. Yeah, he's he's 2016 Olympics, 2017 Worlds, 2019 Worlds. Yeah, 3 global titles. I mean, I guess Shaheen. What about Shaheen? Shaheen never won the Olympics, but yeah, you could you'd probably say he was
this
better.
This is the top 3 steeple of all time. I think we both probably put him in there. Yet he's never broken 8, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah, actually, Brimham Kipruto as well. He's second fastest all time, and he's won a world title and an Olympic title. So second, he's in the top 5 definitely among steeplers all time.
And people are saying they miss Kipruto. He's a great showman. No. There was one great showman in the steeple. Ezekiel Kimboy.
I don't know. Kipruto's a good showman too. And did you see this new guy, Amos Sarem, at World Juniors this last week? He was starting to celebrate with 100 to go. These guys, like, they're all... Don't you remember Kipruto when he won the Worlds in 2019? People have been doubting him because he was injured, and then he did this gesture, and he was sitting on the barrier and looking at everyone with the circle around his eye, like saying, basically, I see you. I see the... Kipruto was a showman. He's not Ezekiel Kimboy. There will never be another Ezekiel Kimboy, but I enjoyed watching him race.
He's an imitator, John. Imitator. The original... The OG deserves the credit. So, but it's I mean, he's racing El Bakkali. This could be good, but I'm not expecting anything from him. I think most likely he'll disappoint us. And some sort of, I feel like there's more than this one steeple. Maybe it was one steeple in Rome this year, and I just was like, oh, he's going to do something. He did terribly. But yeah, I mean, we haven't seen anything since Worlds in 2019, which. I mean, that was pre-COVID, people. Pre-COVID, like, man, that was a whole nother world ago.
All right, well, this thing's dragged on 45 minutes on Friday 15, Thursday night 15. Hope everyone's enjoyed listening, but I got to get out there and run. It's still, hopefully the heat index is below like 95 degrees right now in Boston. Let me see. Feels like 93. Yeah, great running weather right now. Probably be a short one, but I'd like to get a run in 8:35 at night.
Wow. John, you don't know how many years it's been where I just kind of assume I can't run at night. And I used to like double. I'd run at 11 o'clock at night after going to baseball games in college, all through the thing. And the other night, 2 nights ago, John, I went running at night. I just told my wife I'm going running. So I'm back, baby. I'm back. The comeback is back. If there's the New Canaan, Connecticut cross-country series, there may be one more race, people. You got to go do it. I haven't done it this summer. I need to do it, John. I got to get back out there.
Sounds good. Weldon. I wait.
John, this triple jump. This
was
historic. Somebody wants to know, can Rojas jump 16 meters?
Well, I mean, she's jumped, 1567 this year? I mean, that's still a decent ways away from 16 meters. Away. But yeah, I don't know. Probably not. But tonight, I mean, it's funny. I was looking at the triple jump. I'm like, oh, yeah, Rojas won. And then I looked at her series. She jumped 1556 in round 1 and 1552. And 1556 was wind aided. The 1552 was legal. I'm like, yeah, that's pretty damn far. And I looked up. Yeah, the old world record was 1550. So if you look at all conditions jumps all time, she had 2 of the top 3 in this meet today in Lausanne. And the only other one was her own jump from the Olympic final in Tokyo. So this is like we're seeing a GOAT materialize in front of our eyes. That was pretty crazy, but we're not really a women's triple jump podcast. So that's why it takes until minute 49 to get a mention for her.
I mean, maybe we should be. That could be the future. Wait. Oh, I'm sure I had a great point in the women's triple, but it's gone, John. It's gone. All right, everyone. Thanks for listening. If you want this as a podcast, go to letsrun.com/subscribe to subscribe. All our Supporters Club members, we appreciate it. Keep up the good work. And check out letsrun.com, pre and post Paris Diamond League. Another Diamond League I've been to, John. I wonder what Diamond League we've never been to. Doha?
Yeah, I don't think we're ever going to have someone at Doha. Shanghai. Have you been to the London Diamond League?
I don't know. I've been to the Worlds there. I'm not sure.
All right. Well, that'll be our bucket list mission to get Let's Run to, I don't know. Rabat. We never went to Rabat. Get to all the Diamond Leagues one day.
All right. Stay safe, everyone.